Going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is, when you're watching this video, it's going to be probably close to New Year's Day, around that time, but right now it's a few days before Christmas, and just want to give you all we're working today. We're doing some stuff out here in a few hours, but just want to give you all just a general update. And then if you're interested, at the end of the video, I'm going to do a couple frequently asked questions and answer some of those. I get a lot of questions this time of year. We've got a lot of videos on Facebook and YouTube, but YouTube specifically, I put out over the last 4, 5, 6 years. And some of them do really well this time of year, taxidermy ones especially, and they generate a lot of questions. I try to answer as many questions as I can, but I still get more questions like, how long do you boil for? How do you glue the teeth back in? How do you glue the noses together? A lot of questions like that. So stay tuned to the end of the video. I'm gonna try to answer a few of those real quick just to help out, because I've been trying to keep up with messages I've been getting and text messages, and some people even track us down and make a phone call to us, but it's really hard trying to, though. Feel free to ask all the questions you can. We'll do our best to answer them, but yeah, if you're interested in that, stay tuned to the end of the video. But let's give you a quick update on what's going on around here. So we have tried really hard, and I think we've done a good job of keeping caught up this year. And we do every year, but this year we've been very intentional about it. Just not having things lingering. A lot of times, we'll let some heads soak that come in that are dead heads. We'll let we'll have our maceration tank going, and those things kind of back up, and we have to get animals out and get more in and all that kind of stuff. But we've done really good at keeping up with all that, and we're really don't have a whole lot to work on. Today is, like I said, a couple days before Christmas, and we've got about a week and a half of the general deer season left in Texas. Then it will go to like a youth weekend for a couple weeks. And then the only other thing that would be happening is this time of year, in my experience, a lot of people start shooting pigs and bringing those to us. It's just they're finishing out their year. And then we have MLD season, which if you're not familiar, MLD tags are it's a managed land deal that people do with the state to reduce deer numbers, keep them in check, sometimes increase deer numbers. It's in conjunction with the state to better habitat, better animal quality, better number of animals, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times people will start filling all their MLD tags in January, February, and we'll get a rush coming in. But right now we don't have a lot as far as euros go. That's one question I get a lot. What power washer do I use? Talk about that here in a minute. But we only got probably one batch that we could do that me and the boys can knock out. If you watch our most recent video, me and the boys and Shannon knocked out a batch here recently, pretty quick. They're getting bigger now and older, and they're hard workers, so appreciate that from them. So right now there's 4 shoulder mounts right here that we can get cape out, skull cap, and then there's 2 more I just put in the freezer. It's pretty warm today, so or the last couple days, so we've been playing musical chairs, moving some in the freezer, some out, just kind of trying to keep them cold but not frozen, so that when we're ready to work on them we can. So we'll get out here today. We're gonna knock those out. It'll probably take Shannon and I a couple hours. We try to go slow and be careful. And then I think I showed you all this on all the recent videos, but that's all the skull caps for shoulder mounts that we have this year, and then those there, and then obviously the ones I just showed you. These are the heads that the boys and I did recently that I talked about. Those are still whitening. We didn't get any sun yesterday, no sun today. This whitener really does a lot better if it gets activated in the sun, but we're using a different kind of whitener than we've used before, and we kind of just, sometimes when it's out, we just have to change, with the whatever we're using. If it's out or running low, we have to change to something different. And we usually always go in and talk to the beauty supply people in there and ask their opinion on everything, but I think this is what Shannon is using now, Color Charm, and she adds that with the cream peroxide. But some of these are looking good. Like this is a deadhead right here. You can see it's noticeably more yellow than that one that's not a deadhead. But overall, they'll be, hopefully we'll get some sun out. We can throw them out there here in the next day or two. If not, we may have to create some heat for them. So got a couple pigs over here. That pig was shot in the head. That pig was shot in the head. Got to glue the teeth back in on those. This is one that's needs a few things done to it. But yeah, that one's pretty bad. But they wanted it on a plaque, but it's not gonna stay on a plaque. There's not enough there to put a screw into to make it stay. So so life-wise, things are going well. Easton has been, you saw him on a recent video out here working. He's finally starting to feel a little bit better, trying to not have him overdo it and just ease back into normal things. He's playing guitar a lot and doing really, really good at it. And I had to come get my coffee. And Reed is really gotten into dirt bikes here lately, riding dirt bikes all the time, doing well. Our older daughter Sarah, as y'all know, has moved out. She's living with her in-laws in their spare garage apartment. She's doing good, working a lot. Health-wise, she's doing really good compared to when she was younger. And yeah, Shannon and I are doing great. Been trying to squeeze in Christmas shopping between working and you know, a date night or something here and there. And then I'll talk more about this probably in upcoming videos, but I've had some health issues going on. I'm not going to get too far into it right now. But I have a doctor's appointment at 1:45 today, a virtual appointment with a neurosurgeon to schedule surgery. I met with another neurosurgeon and was diagnosed and went through the whole process, MRIs and all that stuff. And it's not life-threatening or anything. But yeah, but I opted to go with this second doctor. He has a better track record for success at this surgery. But yeah, I'll once we get the appointment scheduled and or the surgery scheduled and kind of get things lined out, I'll kind of update you on that. But other than that, that's about all that's going on with us. Like I said, the potential of having surgery here in the next few months has also been a big motivation to stay caught up and not let anything linger. So let's get into some frequently asked questions. I'm gonna try to knock a few of them out. Like I just said a minute ago, the whitener thing is one that we get a lot. I'm gonna put a link to the video that we made most recently on our whitening process. It's a few years old, but it's still essentially the same. We're doing the same thing. We may be doing it with different products depending on what is in stock and what's not. So go watch that video. It also kind of shows you what our entire process is, like a real quick glimpse of that. So go check that out. A link will be in the description. Like I said earlier, one of the big things that we get questions on, what kind of power washer to use. I order these. I've got one coming in the mail today. It's a 2000 PSI Greenworks. I order them off of Amazon, but you can get a Ryobi version of it. I think it's about the same depending on if it's on sale or not. I was at Harbor Freight a couple days ago, and they have a Bauer brand. It's the red color tools that they sell there. Same thing, 2000 PSI electric. And yeah, you know, I think you could get one probably everywhere. You could get one that's a 2000 PSI. I ordered these off of Amazon just because it's easier, but I do think I'm going to go back and buy one from Harbor Freight and try theirs out. I've never tried those. I've gone through a couple of the Ryobi ones. I've gone through a couple of these Greenwork ones. Usually if I can get 2 seasons out of one, I feel like that's an accomplishment. This one is I believe is the end of its second season, and it's starting to go out. It'll rev up, woo, 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 and then it's losing power. So I don't typically mess with them when they're starting to go out. We do a lot of heads, a lot of work with them. They get used a lot more than probably is what's meant for them for like a residential type situation. So when they start going out, throw them in the trash and order another one. The tips that we use, I like this tip. I don't know what you call it, but it like spins and it goes bzzz, and then the water spins and shoots out. That's really good for like cleaning out pots and cleaning out buckets and stuff like that. But for power washing, we use 2 tips. One we use 99% of the time, and the other one we use occasionally. But the one that we use all the time, this one is you can see it's all whittled down from getting on the concrete and stuff. That's a red, I think it's a 0 degree angle tip, and this one is like the 25 degree tip, the orange one. But I need to order me the red ones. I need to order just a bag of those, because I think we're down to the last 2. Yeah, you ought to be able to do hundreds of deer heads with one power washer before it goes out, thousands maybe. A tip that you do that help prolong them, I think, is when I store mine, this is the water inlet right here. You can see it's all rusted up, and you can tell it's been around the block. But if you get some CLR, it's calcium lime rust remover, and spray it in that inlet and like put it on its side and let it sit in there in the off season, I feel like that breaks down any crud and junk that comes in from your water. I don't, maybe it just makes me feel better, but I do that in the off season to try to prolong the life of them. Pots that we use, a lot of questions about pots. You can get these at any big box hardware store usually, or any big box like feed store. Tractor Supply, Atwoods, Gebo's, Home Depot, Lowe's will carry these. They have a size down from this. These will hold 5 heads snugly in there. We don't typically do more than 5 unless they're small. The next size down, you can probably fit 3-ish in there, and then there's a size up that's pretty big. I got one in that shop, or that shed there. I think you can probably fit about 8 to 10 in there. But we use it for like longhorns, big animals, elk sometimes, stuff like that. So another topic that came up on one of our videos recently, the video did really well, got a lot of views, and nobody was being mean, everybody was very encouraging, but they were asking like, why do you use all these small propane bottles? Why don't you get a tank set, like a 350 gallon tank, and then plumb everything into that tank? Or why don't you use like the 100 gallon or larger propane tanks? And this is what we have. These are all I think these are all our propane tanks, unless one's on the barbecue grill over there or something. But we've got about 20 of them, I guess, and these are full, these are empty, and those are in between. But ultimately, hopefully, this is a temporary setup where we're at. We built all this knowing that and hoping that this is just a short-term place that we're working in. We have an acre here, and ideally, the kids' forts back there as our archery targets, but ideally this, on the other side of that tree, right in that area, we're gonna build a 30 by 40 or maybe a 40 by 60 or whatever we can afford to do and need to do. And then we're gonna hopefully have a driveway that goes out to this main road here, and that will be our setup in the future. So that's one reason we're not gonna set a tank and have everything plumbed in and go through that expense and time and everything, because hopefully when we do build a shop there, we can do it at that point. Second, why we don't use the bigger 100 gallon or 40 gallon or whatever, there's several that are sizes bigger than these. These are the smallest ones for like barbecue grills, and the reason is it's a pain enough to move these things around. A 100 gallon one would be very hard to move. And I don't know if y'all know, but I have a full-time job, so I work at least 40 hours a week, sometimes more at my full-time job. And so that leaves, sometimes Shanna has to go do a lot of taxidermy related stuff on her own, filling propane bottles, buying whitener, just general dropping heads off, picking heads up from customers, all that stuff. And so, but the propane stuff, it's hard for me to move those things around when they're full. It's really hard for her. And when she goes to the propane place to fill it, they don't help. They're not allowed to help unload and load them. So she's lugging in, those things when they're full. I don't know how much they weigh, but they're heavy. So that's another reason, just having those are much easier to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So and I've gotten the majority of those free or cheap off of like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist and stuff. whenever the last time I bought some, I bought like 8 or 10 from a guy, or 6 or 8 from a guy, and they're a lot easier to find, a lot cheaper. So that's why we do that. Lots of questions about gluing stuff back together. It is common for parts to fall off of deer when you're working on them, and it's common. It's nothing to be scared of. This is a deer my daughter shot 8 years ago. You can see it's got fly spots on it because its flies land on it, but it's been out here in the shop for a while. That's pretty dang white for that old, but it's very common. You can see this deer's missing a tooth right here. It probably fell out. It probably was in there when I finished it. It's very common for the teeth to fall out and these nose pieces to fall out right along this line right here. And a lot of heads, when you macerate them, the younger ones, they'll move here, they'll move along these lines, they'll move along this line right here, they'll kind of flex and move. And so we use just this super glue that we get at Walmart, or you can get it, I think, at dollar store, all that kind of stuff. That's all we use. And we glue everything back together, all the teeth back in. When we do a set of heads this big, this is how many teeth and noses we lost. Shannon's got them whitening right here. These are noses and teeth, noses and teeth in there. I don't know why we have them split up, but this is ones that were macerated. I don't know why those are split up. She probably just wanted to be able to fit them in the strainer without them falling out. But so as you can see, it happens. You know, I can look and see a handful of deer that are missing noses, and I know there's a few in there that are missing teeth as well. It just happens. Super gluing back together. All right, last frequently asked question for this video, I think, as I sneak another one in on you. But a lot of people ask, do you soak the heads in a bucket of water before you work on them? Always. I've done that since very early on. And how long do you soak them in buckets? As long as you can. And there's no limit. Some of these have been soaking in here for 10, 12, 15 days. These were put in here yesterday. All that does is keep everything hydrated and loose, and then at some point, if you leave them in there long enough, they're going to start to macerate and break down. It's just going to make them easier to boil, to power wash, all that kind of stuff. Ideally, if I can macerate everything, I would. It's just not in the cards with where we're located and having people around us, and so we just macerate fatty animals and young animals. Young deer, does, pigs, cats, bears, coyotes, all go in a maceration tank. If you have a deer head come in and you want to work on it, if you shot a deer at your deer lease and you want to work on it for yourself, skin it and put it in a bucket of water. Put it off at the corner and let it sit there. It's much better to do that than it is to put it in a freezer or just leave it out and let it dry out. If you do freeze it with the skin on until you're ready to work on it, then skin it when it's thawed out, then put it in the water. But don't ever skin a deer and put it in the freezer. Don't ever skin a deer and just let it sit out. That immediately when you do that, the blood begins to soak into the bone. Even when it's in the freezer, it happens. And that will discolor the bone and will make it much harder to whiten at the end. So early on, like I said, when we were getting in a couple heads a week, I would just skin them as I got them in, put them in buckets of water until I had a batch to work on that I felt was big enough, and then we would work on them. Early season, they can start breaking down really quick if it's hot, especially here in Texas. So, within a week, they will start to stink and break down. But we also remove the brains out of them, most of them, and that helps with the smell. So that leads into one more. I told you I'm not sneaking another one in. How long do you boil for? I get that question all the time, and there's so many variables. Age of the animal, the condition of the head before it was dropped off to you, how long it's soaked in water, all kinds of stuff. One of the biggest ones is the age of the animal. I don't like, if it's a 1.5-year old deer, I don't like to boil them. I like to put them in the maceration tank. And when they come out, I'll do a quick simmer on them, and they're never exposed to heat, real heat. You have a gnarly old deer with his teeth all, filed down from him chewing for 7, 8, 9 years of his life. That deer was going to take a lot of time to boil, to break down everything. So there's an entire spectrum between those two deer. 2.5-year-old deer, 7.5-year-old deer. There's a lot of variables. So what I do when I'm boiling you know, you've seen our setup before. We'll have 5 or 6 pots going right here. I will typically put the younger deer in the first pot, and the older, bigger deer in the back pots. And then we will start on that first pot, get those young deer out of there, and then start working our way down. And by the time we get to the last pots, those older deer have had time to sit in there. We don't always do that, but we try, especially if we have, you know, noticeably young deer in there. So, all right, y'all. Hope that helps y'all. These deer I was just talking about, I showed them on that other video that we did a few days ago. Those are all macerated, and they all look pretty good. Actually, this one was not macerated. The rest of them were. All right, y'all. Hope this video helps y'all. If it does, please consider subscribing. Leave us a comment. Let us know. Tell us what you do. We've got some tips and tricks from our viewers that have helped us out over the years, and we're certainly not above learning from other people and improving what we do, making things more efficient, making things quicker, easier, better product at the end, all that stuff. So comment below, shoot us a message on Facebook, share with us what you do, things that you might think would work with us. And we just really appreciate y'all. Appreciate all the engagement here lately. We've had a lot of videos doing really well, and we've had this YouTube channel going for a long time. And we've tried, you know, during COVID, we kind of got into the homesteading deal and had chickens, and we still do all that stuff, but we're not focusing that on the channel as much. We've just been trying to do taxidermy in our lives as it revolves around taxidermy. So Reed and I shoot 3D archery. We'll probably be showing y'all some of that here. We showed a lot of it last year. We'll probably be showing y'all some of that here in the next few months. Yeah, stuff like that. Just the channel is doing well. We like where it's at. Hope it stays that way. Hope y'all stick around. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all again.